More on our top story now. A United Nations inspection team has left the site in Damascus of last week's alleged gas attack. They spent 3 hours in the rebel-held area, interviewing and taking blood samples from victims. And that is after the convoy they were traveling in was hit by sniper fire. The UN hasn't assigned blame for the attack, and no one has claimed responsibility for it. But the UN has appealed to both pro and anti-government forces to respect the UN's neutrality in this conflict. For more, let's go live to UN correspondent Stephen Fee, who is joining us from New York. Stephen.
Well, Elaine, the Secretary General immediately called on all sides of this conflict to ensure the security of these UN weapons inspectors. Now, none of them were hurt. They were able to retreat to safety for a few hours, and then about a dozen inspectors went back to those Damascus suburbs where they, as you said, were able to collect evidence and conduct interviews. And that comes despite growing calls globally for perhaps more intervention in Syria, but UN officials saying that the international community has to allow these inspectors to finish their work. Amateur video purports to show the UN inspectors at a makeshift hospital in a western suburb of the capital, Damascus. Victims of the attack appear to convulse. Officials in helmets and protective vests, presumably the inspectors, are seen talking to doctors. Just hours earlier, their 7-car convoy came under sniper fire in a buffer zone between government and rebel-controlled territory. A UN official said bullets struck the lead vehicle's tires and front window.
I have instructed Angela Kane to register a strong complaint to Syrian government and authorities of opposition forces so that this will never happen. And the safety and security of investigation teams will be secured from tomorrow.
As the drumbeat for a possible military strike intensifies, a spokesman for the UN Secretary General told reporters that diplomacy was still the UN's top priority.
The task is to complete an unimpeded investigation as promptly as possible before speculating on any possible next steps.
He also took on critics who argue too much time had passed to conduct an adequate investigation.
Despite the passage of a number of days, the Secretary General is confident that the team will be able to obtain and analyze evidence relevant for its investigation of the 21st of August incident at Ghouta in Damascus.
The Secretary General's spokesman said the team is still scheduled to inspect 3 other sites where chemical weapons were allegedly used. As of now, the investigators' 14-day mission has not been extended. Now, that spokesman for the Secretary General said that he still believes diplomacy is key to resolving this ongoing conflict in Syria. He said the UN Special Representative to the region is still working very hard to convene an international meeting to sue for peace, Elaine.
Well, and Stephen, the UN has been gridlocked on the Syria issue for a long time now, partly because of the major players in the region. You have the U.S. and you have Russia. Both have staked out opposite sides in this conflict. Is that affecting the team's ability to get further access to some of those sites in Syria?
Well, it might be. Every time the Secretary General calls for full and unimpeded access to these chemical weapons sites, he's doing so without the full authority and heft of the Security Council. As you remember, last week, the Security Council convened in an emergency session to discuss this ongoing crisis. And while some members had tried to push for a stronger statement supporting faster and fuller access to these sites, all we really got was a very brief readout from that meeting. And a lot of experts are saying that because the Syrian government continues to shell these very Damascus suburbs, that might destroy some of that critical forensic evidence.
All right, CCTV's Stephen Fee reporting live from New York. Thanks for that.